Alrighty, hello every folks and good morning. Welcome to a rare opportunity to do a launch day tier list here today. We are going to be talking about classes, specifically the generic ones. The special ones are going to be their own thing, and frankly, there really is not too much to say that's new in that particular regard. What a shocker, Orlando is still insanely overpowered. What a shocker, Mustadio is still kind of okay. But as far as all those go, they're kind of their own unique thing. When it comes to the generic classes, these are what everybody has access to, and when it comes to the monster classes, those are once again kind of their entire own category. Now, you will notice that the first category on the list, actually, before we even get into the categories, I want to mention this is based off of my first playthrough before the game even launched on Tactician difficulty. It is exclusively based off that difficulty, and yeah, anything that, for example, doesn't confine with old metas or whatever else, yeah, don't be too shocked. Like seeing something like the ninja fall down a few spaces due to the fact that direct attacks are not necessarily the one-shot kill potential that they always have been in previous versions, is something that you can potentially see here. And in many ways, this is going to be potentially a kind of topic for discussion similar to what happened with the Felseal tier list, where I was basing that based off of New Game Plus on the highest difficulty, which meant that there was a lot of weirdness to the placement of stuff on that one. Like, for example, that game has what would be this game's equivalent of a calculator, that functionally speaking is almost a death sentence to use on New Game Plus, because all of the various reaction abilities would just instantly delete them and pile them up with debuffs to the point that they were useless. So anyways, that kind of stuff is potentially to be expected, but a lot of the same ones that you'd expect to be on the top of the list are going to be here. Anyways, sorry, enough rambling. Let's go ahead and get to it. Now, next one on the categories here is going to be very self-explanatory. Hell, it's in the name. So, Squire, we still love you. It's the best starting class in any game as far as I'm concerned. It's basically everyone's favorite best boy over here. The class itself is terrible to use, but everything about it is useful for everybody else, giving you access to an early ranged option that's easy to use, giving you access to a lightweight tap option as well as a push option from both ranged and close range variants, giving you a way to deal with debuffs without burning your items for early game enemies, giving you JP boost up to allow you to speedrun any class going forward, a nice convenient movement boost, a nice convenient pushback knockback move as a counter, as well as equip axes, which actually saw quite a buff this time around. I don't know how the numbers are different. Honestly, if somebody tells me that the numbers aren't different and I just got really lucky, I wouldn't be surprised. These things just sort of happen sometimes, but as far as this class goes, yeah, I feel like Axes got a pretty solid buff, though I'm a little bit disappointed that Beastmaster didn't get at least a range boost or something. It's it's a very weird skill. So Beastmaster allows you to get a extra skill on any monster unit that is standing by any unit that's equipping it. The problem is the situationality of a lot of those things. Like, I personally prefer the black chocobos to the red ones that typically are the more popular option. The reason for that is because you basically get a better version of the red one by having Beastmaster and a black chocobo with you. Plus, they fly instead of ignore elevation. Now, why exactly is this different if they both get Meteor? Well, the black one gets Meteor, which is a ranged attack. They can stand next to the Beastmaster unit when they need to use it, and it's got really long range and can probably reach something. When you use a red one with a Beastmaster unit, it has Asuna on there, which basically gets rid of a debuff, which is all well and good, but it basically means that they can only cure the Beastmaster unit of that debuff unless somebody else happens to be right nearby them that also happens to need that debuff removed. It's so unbelievably oddly specific, though it does allow for other weirdness, like for example Bequeath Bacon, which allows you to use the tier 3 piggies to essentially sacrifice themselves into a nice tasty treat in order to give somebody a free level up. Lots of effort for one free level that you could have gotten so many other ways, but sure, why the hell not, you know? I have no reason why you'd ever use that method. It's like one of the slowest ways to level up despite being a power leveling method. Anyway, sorry, that's just kind of a weird little oddity over there. Though I will note, as far as balance changes going forward, please note that one of the things that this game changed, aside from Tactician difficulty, is that it changed how gender items actually work. Now, this has a lot of implications, but most importantly, you have the perfume items, which are no longer locked to the ladies, which means that everybody has the potential for utter immortality at the cost of drinking some bacon. Alright, so the next on the list is going to be Somebody to Love. These are going to be the classes that you use because you like them, more so than other features. And What's interesting is that this time around there's one that used to be, in my opinion, a lot situationally stronger than it was, and that's going to be the Knight. Now, I personally really like the Knight. It's one of my favorite classes in the game, both aesthetically as well as what it does, because equipment breaks are a hell of a lot of fun. That being said, with stuff being a lot faster and beefier on Tactician, oftentimes what you're focusing on is going to be getting stuff out of the way right now. And while they are potentially very useful for situations like, for example, any sort of like laser sword users or whatever else, in most other cases, there's other units that are potentially going to be a lot more effective at shutting things down quickly. Also, it occurs to me that I left the dryer running in the background. I hope that's not making a loud clicking noise. If it is, I apologize. Welcome to laundry time. Anyway, so yeah, as far as that one goes, it's very durable. It's one of the more durable classes in the game, and its skills for equipping shields in particular are notable for fleshing out a lot of other builds going forward. But as far as their rend abilities and whatnot, they just kind of pale in comparison with many of the other later options this time around, again, by comparison. With how slow, for example, things like the Dancer or whatnot were back in earlier versions, or at least they felt a lot slower. I know I personally loved running the crossbow breaking build. I still do it just for the hell of it because it's fun. Like, it's just fun to run up to things and be like, yep, guess what, your pants no longer exist. But aside from that, again, it's one that you're running because you love it. You don't necessarily need it for its equipment choices or, skill choices or whatever else. So either way, I feel like situationally it's gotten a bit weaker, though on the flip side, I gotta say, for the show must go on category, these are going to be the ones that are surprisingly reliable, but maybe not absolutely kind of top of the pile, as it were. And that's going to be the Archer, and more specifically their aim skills, because concentration kind of sucks. Their jump is kind of whatever, as well as their, the ability to boost speed is actually pretty solid. In fact, by the end, one of my best units on the team was a chemist with a speed surge and aim plus 20, activating 3 times in a row. So, well, actually, technically, 6.5 times in a row. But we'll get some more on that later. But yeah, aim has been boosted significantly. Their bows kind of blow on Tactician. I'm not sure what that's about. I don't know if I just was using the wrong stats or something, or the wrong units to make that weapon work, but yeah, bows were kind of awful this time around, but crossbows had a bit more love to them, and specifically the aim skill was really, really good on melee weapons, especially the battle axe. Like, battle axe plus aim plus like a dancer is just kinda fucked, to be honest. Like, I didn't even realize how many things the Dancer could potentially affect, which ended up tagging in for allowing the aim battle axe guy to just run up and max charge on everybody. Poor Gafgarian got one shot 3 times. One of those times, he's just standing there behind the gate of the fortress. I'm wondering where the hell he is. Apparently stop affects him. I didn't realize that it actually could do that. And he's just standing there like, I'm in danger. So that was hilarious. Yeah, anyway, so he had a real bad time, and then basically the same thing happened to Wigraf, and then the same thing happened to every other boss, because the go-to strategy was just like charging Battle Axe guy plus Mimic, and there you go, quadruple aim plus 20s. Anyways, moving on, though. So yeah, I feel like they've gotten a significant buff. Their skill set did. Their weapons didn't. If crossbows feel slightly stronger, I still have no clue what's going on with bows. I'm assuming it was just that unit not having the right stats for it, but let's go ahead and move on. Next for We Are the Champions, these are the ones that are exceptionally good, but probably need another piece to make themselves amazing. So that would be something like, let's say, the Black Mage. Their skill set is incredible. Everything about it is incredible. There are no downsides to this class. It's just that they are outshone by somebody right above them. Because, yeah, all of their abilities are great. The charge time is their literal only downside, and you can potentially mitigate that with a quick cast. So, if you prefer to just stick with Black Mage and quick cast, absolutely, perfectly viable. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. No compromises to that. They are insanely good. Arguably, only for the purpose of convenient placement am I not putting them up here. Because the only thing that actually outshines them in that particular regard is going to be the fact that their skills can also go on the Arithmetician, aka the Calculator. So while Black Mage gets all of the basic elemental skills, they can boost them to insanity through their staves and equipment. They get Toad and Death and and Flare and stuff like that. all well and good. They are the unquestionable powerhouse of that particular thing, and then the calculator essentially steps in and is able to do that instantly. With the main downside being that they have to tediously go through their menu to see which thing won't immediately backfire and instant calculate death the entire team. Though that being said, Calculator's currently going on top, not because the class itself is very good, like, you never want to leave a unit as Calculator. Personally, having a Thief with Calculator skills is what I wound up setting up on, because having really high speed on top of then casting instant death on everything worked way better than realistically it probably should. I don't know if the odds are locked in at this point or what, but I kid you not, about I'd say 60 to 80% of the entirety of Chapter 4 ended immediately upon that thief running forward with her speed gear. She's the only one that basically wasn't, aside from the mime, that wasn't using a chantage on her, just so she could get some Hermes boots on there, and then, yeah, she just walks forward, just punches in instant death into the calculator, and then the entire team dies. And it's weird how often that worked. So, yeah, that's insanely good. For the other kind of power and speed nerfs and whatever else that the calculator got, that certainly wasn't accounted for. Anyway, actually related to that is why we're going to have Mime up here for Princes of the Universe as well, because these two tag team together exceptionally well, because if the first wave of instant death cast doesn't do it, the second one certainly will. Yeah, Mime basically just copies the previous friendly action that you took. Now, it does have downsides. There's definitely a bit of a sort of a friendly fire component to it if you're not paying attention. Once you get used to it, though, they are insanely good and kind of indispensable. Like, for example, one of those cases was when there was a guest Beowulf in the team. He decided to go attack a guy that had been put to sleep by reducing 80% of his health bar. Thank you. We appreciate you for waking him up. Maybe you could do that without decapitating him, though. Which then caused the mime to turn around and then murder a wizard. So, you know, it has potential to backfire, but also the ability to essentially copy any kind of math or dances or songs or whatever else, or it's just insanely good. And relatedly speaking, yeah, Bard, Dancer, like, Dancer gets to go way up here. As far as I'm concerned, Dancer is the best class in the game at this point. Essentially being able to do what the Calculator can do, but they're able to do it, they will just keep repeating the same song over and over. They're able to do many different shutdown debuffs at the same time. They're not subject to numbers. They're always only going to hit enemies. They can't really be blocked under most circumstances except by evasion, and even then, it's not reliable. Like, they'll throw out enough debuffs that it doesn't really matter. Like, I believe the odds that it lists are like 25% chance to hit for each of their attacks, but it's also rolling every single debuff on the list. So instead of like, oh, 25% chance to hit, and then we figure out if it's Toad, Stop, Sleep, Confuse, Slow, or what have you, instead it's just like, oh, there's a 25% chance of each of those to happen, and it just sort of picks one and then just goes. That, again, combined with a mime, is freakishly good. Just shuts down entire enemy teams. Everything that didn't instantly die to the calculator was frogged. And before the calculator was fully online with that instant death thing, it was frog time all the time for a good half the game there. So yeah, the ability to shut down everything via frog conditions there is really just like insanely overpowered as far as I'm concerned. Not to mention, it's very easy to get online. Its requirements are not nearly as steep as something like the Mime. Their best ability, the Forsaken Dance, or the Forbidden Dance rather, is only 100 JP. No clue who decided that. That could have used some work. I don't know why that didn't get buffed to like 1500. So yeah, insanely good. Not to mention, on top of that, there's actually a funny little quirk in the fact that Slow can actually delete things out of the turn order entirely. I'm not sure if it could do that originally, because this class used to be quite a bit slower to use, but now that we have both fast forward as well as the class seems to throw out all of its moves a lot faster, you can actually slow every single, and I did test this, every single endgame boss can be slowed so hard that they no longer get turns anymore. You can just act for free on the highest difficulty. There's no stopping it either. They have no defense against it. It either hits or it doesn't. So yeah, that's fun. Alrighty, so continuing on, as if the Dancer didn't have enough good things going for it already, due to gender changes once again, we see that bags are exclusively located on the Bard and Dancer at this point. Now, this is I mean, I guess it's a fitting change. It's kind of a weird one though, because there's not really a whole lot of reason for them to really need those. Though it does mean that they basically get the best of both worlds, with both a flail and a battle axe being the kind of crazy wide range of the flail, while also potentially having the ridiculously high hitting power of the battle axe. There, in fact, it's funny how, unless I missed something, the Falling Star bag is actually the best sort of random melee weapon variant. Like even above the slasher there, so so there's also that to potentially consider. Now, that being said, yeah, their advantages are absolutely supreme there, and on top of everything else, they get the ability to fly eventually through their movement and whatnot, which is fine. It's not exactly the best movement ability. I personally am kind of biased towards that on account of, Tactics Ogre fan over here, so I'm kind of prefer flight over teleportation every time. But either way, it is what it is. So yeah, that class has so much stacked for it, it's not even funny. Anyways, next on that list, though, is Bard, basically the male variant of the same thing. Now, they're not exactly as cracked as the Dancer, because again, dropping somebody straight off the turn order is kind of hacky material. I don't even know if that was intended. I genuinely don't remember that ever happening in older versions, but I also didn't test if it could. But yeah, no, as far as the Bard goes, you basically have the same thing in the opposite direction, being able to infinitely boost speed, physical attack, magical attack, and whatever else. Which does mean that it pairs exceptionally well with just about anything, because you can boost just about anything. On top of that, Nameless Dance, if and when, you happen to not want to cheese the ever-loving Bechristmas out of your Chantage items, you can always just use the Nameless Dance, or sorry, the Nameless Song in order to go give yourself a free re-raise on your entire party. So either way, stuff's pretty fantastic. Both of those are exceptionally good. I will say the utter shutdown potential of the Dancer definitely edges it out in terms of the immediate effect, but in the long term, the Bard wins out in terms of overall utility because, well, frankly, as far as offense goes, being able to turbo boost stuff into the point of having infinite turns, granted, that we have infinite turns in both directions here, does lead to some funny effects. So, either way, they are both opposite ends of cracked, so we'll go ahead and put them there. Alrighty, next, in terms of the show must go on, we've got the White Mage. Now, their abilities are great. We've got their re-raises, which are going to be useful pretty much from start of the game to the end of the game. It's a bit of a shame that it can miss, even with high faith, and this time around, their Holy Nuke was specifically pointed out as having been nerfed. Seeing as, again, on Tactician, you will not be able to necessarily one-shot stuff with a Holy calculation or anything like that. Now, they're still good. They're still very solid. Their heals work well enough. I will say their very earliest heals, like the regular cures, feel like they got a bit of a buff. Their mid-game cures don't feel like they necessarily do as much. But overall, in general, as far as their heals go, they still do as well as they always did. I don't feel like they're any faster. I don't think like they got much of a buff outside of their very earliest heals. It feels like they're about as likely to miss as they always have been. Again, unless I'm missing something. Obviously, there's always going to be random stats on characters and whatever else to consider. But as far as I've seen, they mostly seem to be the same that they've always been. However, a lot of other things have potentially been, buffed to a crazy degree. And especially the fact that you can get a hold of the calculator a decent bit faster overall time-wise than you ever could before. This means that using raise on them is oftentimes going to be a lot more convenient, seeing as while you still have the chance to miss, you don't have to worry about the MP cost, you don't have to worry about the unit dying before they actually get a chance to get the ability off, so there's that there. Okay, next up, actually this is going to go also into the show must go on category. We have the Monk. Now, this used to be, in my opinion, one of the best classes that there was, and their skill set is still incredibly versatile, but everything about them got situationally accidentally nerfed. So what we see here is a case where their brawler ability, while still solid, it takes a lot more physical attack than before to reach that same ludicrousness that it did before. When it comes to stuff like Chakra, again, having access to MP is all well and good, but oftentimes you probably will be focusing on other things that maybe don't necessarily want to sit there charging up as much. If you are running a more heavily MP-orientated team than I was, it probably would give you a good bit more potential. And actually, one more thing that I do want to mention, I forgot to check this specifically for the monk, but many of the old abilities that used to only be on a level playing field are now willing to accept a one height difference in order to take effect, including stuff like the thief, which we'll get to in a moment. So either way, it feels like a lot of their abilities just don't potentially have as much threat as they used to on either the medium difficulty or older versions. You know, again, same old thing as we discussed before. It's just regular direct physical attacks. It's going to take a lot more to go down stuff on Tactician, and frankly, they don't really have that as much. Again, obviously, stuff may potentially change. I know Brawler built into a mime is potentially a very good thing after the Bard has buffed it a whole bunch, but again, that could be anything at that point. So I don't know if specifically using it for that purpose is quite as necessary. Their revive ability is good. Again, we basically are able to revive without the chance to miss like we have over with the white mage there, or at least without the cost and charge time. Stuff like Cyclone, it's kind of meh, especially in this context. Like, it was already kind of maybe before, but both Cyclone and Pummel, they don't feel like they have quite the potential to get to where they were before. If you could aim Pummel, that would be a different story, but you can't aim Pummel, so that's kind of whatever. But again, personal opinion on that, moving on. Okay, next for somebody to love, Time Mage. Yes, Meteor is really cool. Time magic is all really cool and whatnot. I would much prefer the Bard with their free haste, just kind of flying about all over the place, rather than deal with the shenanigans of a Time Mage. I just don't really like these guys very much, to be honest. So there's kind of some personal bias here, but I know a lot of people really love this class here, so whatever. It's there as your medium ground between your white and black mage, so it's nice and happy over there. Next for... I kind of feel like this has to go up into the We Are the Champions category, the Mystic. So this one saw a decent buff this version. So back in the original versions, their main problem was that they would get interrupted and get their ass beat before they actually got any of their abilities off. Now, they're still not exactly the most accurate thing in the world, but the oddly specific nature of a lot of their abilities does make them very, very useful. For example, while you can have the chance to insta-kill with a arithmetician, you can have a chance to frog with the dancer, one thing you can potentially do that's kind of unique to the Mystic there, and granted you can do this with the calculator as well, is that you can use their trepidation ability to go and reduce everybody's brave down to below 20, I think it is, to physically turn them into a chicken. Now, unlike the frog, this means that they won't accidentally trigger counter abilities, so if you want to specifically go for recruitments, if you want to specifically steal some types of equipment or what have you, and it's a unit that can potentially be subject to transformations, then you can absolutely go and give them the old chicken treatment. It's like a more reliable version of the frog, since frog is much more likely to miss than, for example, the thing that just lowers bravery. On top of that, it's able to get rid of reaction ability, so that's nice too. You're able to shut down casters through the same means as well, or just stall stuff out, steal health, what have you. The steal health isn't really necessarily as reliable, but the unique nature of a lot of their abilities, as well as the fact is that they got a pretty noticeable speed buff, means that their skill set is pretty darn good. Their staves are basically spears before you can get spears. So yeah, overall I feel like they kind of go into the equivalent of A tier up here. They're one of the classes I personally found really enjoying this time, so we'll go ahead and put that there. Alright. Next for... let's see, for somebody to love, unfortunately, this is... okay, so the Geomancer used to be one of my favorites. I mean, overall design-wise, it is still one of my favorites, but, like, as far as overall power goes, I feel like it got indirectly nerfed quite a bit. They are the direct attack guy, the attack boost specialist there. And those direct attack boosts are oftentimes not enough to carve through something's health, especially as you get towards the later end of the game there, where it's like, oh, guess what? They boosted their damage from like 100 to 200, and their health went up by, like, from 400 to 800, so they have a little bit of a harder time keeping up. Again, I'm sure more metas will develop over time where physical attackers will once again come back and, you know, be the big ol' end-all thing, as they always end up being. But as far as I've seen, they seem to drop off quite a significant bit, and additionally, due to the fact that we see Mystics being a lot faster, we see a lot of other classes coming in a lot sooner. When it comes to their ability to geomancy stuff into sudden debuffs, their sort of bargain basement sort of appeal from before, where they can instantly throw those abilities out at no cost and have a chance to shut something down immediately. That is, like, we basically see higher odds coming out of the Mystic with relatively similar availability at this point, as well as the Black Mage and whatnot. So while there is still that cost associated, I feel like indirectly they kind of got sort of nerfed there, because before it was like, well, they're either a direct physical threat or they have the ability to shut something down, and now it's just like they just have the ability to weakly shut something down, and it's like 15% chance to hit. I don't know. Again, I'm probably going to prefer them more on follow-up playthroughs, but I know this time around I kept trying to use them, and it's like, yeah, this is not working as well as I remember it working. Okay, next up for Princes of the Universe, right up there next to the Dancer and Orator, we have, or sorry, the Arithmetician, we have the Orator. The ability to just walk up to something and just tell them, hey, guess what, you're in my team now, is frankly ridiculously busted. I kept Denim as... Not Denim, what the hell, I'm talking Tactics Ogre stuff here. I kept Ramza as Orator slash Bard for most of this first playthrough here. And yeah, it was ridiculously good. While guns aren't necessarily as good as they used to be in earlier versions, just kind of like running main gauche as well as just negotiating stuff down is still insanely good. Don't forget that you can basically entice just about anything as this class, so while you do need Beast Tongue to use their abilities on other classes, having it as a primary means that you can talk down almost any enemy in the game without any additional stuff required, and those odds go up to about 45%, depending entirely, from what I understand, based off of MA as well as their Zodiac compatibility. By default, this is, again, still able to reach 45%. So it is really, really, really good. So, just something to remember. That, yeah, there's basically no defense against that particular ability, and oftentimes just convincing one unit to switch is already going to be enough to make that thing happen. In fact, it was kind of hilarious to me that they have that big dramatic line at the sluice, like, oh my god, they have, these guys will stop at nothing to prevent us from opening the sluice. We have to make sure it happens. Just walks up and asks nicely. Anyway, so yeah, love that. Moving right along, we are the champions for the chemist, probably the higher end right next to the black mage there. Their items continue to be amazing up until the late game there, like X Potion, Autopot, still was enough to counter most bosses in the later game and what have you. Even the final boss kept repeatedly hitting things and still getting autopotted back to full health. So yeah, even on Tactician, still insanely good. Their items are always going to hit as long as you're able to get a clear line of sight, so a lot more reliable than many other recovery options. Again, Chemist with Battle Axe was probably my favorite unit this time around. So yeah, I absolutely adored that setup. So yeah, there's that. Safeguard is also exceptionally useful when, you know, you get towards the tail end and a certain group of Divine Knight assholes keep breaking all your stuff all the time, so that's nice to have as well. Anyway, in fact, actually, incidentally, I did, for one of the first times ever, go through all the rigmarole of stealing the Genji set only to have them break it. It's like, you dicks. Anyway, moving right along though, speaking of more champion classes, we've got the Samurai, which really, really shines. So a lot of their abilities tend to scale off of whatever the other guy is kind of weak to, I think, because a lot of their Yaido abilities had a tendency to seemingly break past a lot of defenses that others could not. Especially their Kiri, the line move there, was really useful alongside the Mime for just kind of like long-range sniping with a sword and what have you. So yeah, great stuff there. They're really good at getting around a lot of the counter abilities that you'll run into, being able to attack diagonally. Their support abilities are pretty darn decent, again in combination with a Mime there, being able to potentially mass heal an entire party up to full, so definitely would prefer that over a White Mage any day. And yeah, overall good stuff. Also, still hilarious to me that the Masamune is just like, just kind of there. You go through all that effort to get that stupid thing, and all it is haste plus regen. Meanwhile, the Bard's up there like, I've been handing this stuff out for free. What the hell do you need that sword for? So that's nice. Anyway, next for somebody to love, I'm actually going to put the ninja down there this time. Their thrown things are oftentimes just a free heal coming off of enemy units, just like free autopot, basically. So I feel like they've definitely been seeing better days there. As far as their double attack abilities, they're fine. Like they're okay. They can get past an autopot, but offensively speaking, it just like they don't really compare with anything up here at this point. They used to be the one-shot, like run-up one-shot and kill something thing in previous versions, but yeah, like they can potentially with double flails or something. Like I probably should put them well above the knight here, but like I genuinely did not really see the appeal in them. I even did the classic like double fist brawler thing, and it was good for breaking equipment and what have you. But aside from that, Stuffed had a tendency to recover out of the attacks that they could do. So, so yeah. I mean, they certainly obviously are going to have potential for stuff like Excalibur, Save the Queen, you know, dual swording or what have you. So if you go completely zany with it, yes, sure, that's still ridiculous, but the class by itself in its base form, which is mostly what I'm judging all these guys off of, it's exactly okay. Anyway. Let's see, next for We Are the Champions. Now, basically, the Dragoon is the same thing as a Knight. Yes, Dragonheart is not very good. However, exclusively on Tactician, it is very useful to run up and jump out of the way of stuff. In fact, I would probably put them... Nah, I'm going to leave them about here. The ability to run up and jump out of the way of charge attacks that a boss is going and prepping up for you is very useful. Basically, it just allows you to know a lot of boss encounters and what have you, so... Overall solid stuff. I like it. Still has the old tanking thing, and unlike knights, they have spears, which are objectively cooler. Okay, next for Show Must Go On, we're going to have the Summoner. They are better than they've ever been. Actually, they probably go up to We're the Champions, I think. Do we move the Mystic down? Whatever. This feels like it's kind of skewing towards the high end here. But yeah, no, Summoners are better than they've ever been. They actually indicate that the stabs will boost their appropriate summons this time around. So that's very nice to hear. But yeah, really, really good abilities as far as their whole Smart Bomb potential. They're a way safer option of a lot of your other casters. Obviously, you can combine their stuff with Calculator, but there's nothing wrong with going Summoner with Arithmetics as a secondary to just give yourself access to everything. The fact that they have a different indicator for how Golem works this time is pretty nice, giving you that nice little overshield kind of thing. So, yeah, overall, I feel like they've gotten a lot of love, and additionally, if you ever have a hard time training any of these, just go into any fight that uses a lot of summoners, and you can just kind of have them accidentally learn their stuff. Apparently there's like a 40 to 50% chance of summoners to just learn other summons every time they're hit by them, which, yeah, that's a mechanic I was aware of years ago, and then just completely forgot about. So, if you ever want to power level them, have a summoner attack them. Anyway, that's kind of just there. And then lastly, for the higher end of Show Must Go On, we're going to have the Thief, which is, I would argue, just incredible in general. Like, last time I made the argument that the Knight was better than the Thief because they could break equipment due to the elevation thing. They actually have more elevation forgiveness this time around, which does give them a lot more potential for stealing things. Additionally, again, you can just combine in a mime for the double steal potential for basically anything. And while I've seen arguments back and forth on whether or not speed is actually affecting their steal rate, I will say boosting their speed over and over with a bard didn't really seem to help with that, so maybe there's something I was missing. But in general, the ability to just yoink equipment off of stuff is very useful on Tactician. They don't have much in the way of, you know, direct offensive potential unless you're speed boosting, and that's honestly, I kind of feel like they need to go up here. Like, they're genuinely fantastic. I think we're going to move the Dragoon down a little bit, because Dragonheart sucks, and we got to judge it for that. Boo this man for Dragonheart. No, it's just like, yeah, it feels kind of silly to almost die, so they have the ability to almost not die. But no, when it comes to the Thief, their ability to just, like, let's say you run into an evasion build, and then you just basically yoink the cape off their back, only to then have somebody go follow up with a kill shot, is very useful. Again, Thief or Arithmetician is what I ended up really appreciating for this latest playthrough. Seeing as it allowed for being able to very cozily go and just kind of like one-shot death stuff over and over. Anything that survived had its evasion item stolen, and then it was attempted again. So there's that. Now, I'm thinking that's looking about right. That looks about decent. So, y'all have yourselves a good one. Take care, and yeah, I will look forward to the healthy arguments later. All right, take care. Later.